like to start off first of all and thank you folks here in the Red Pole Association and the North American for having me out here to evaluate your Red Pole show here today. It's always been an honor for me to evaluate shows on the green shavings, and it doesn't matter what breed it is. I've taken this show very seriously my entire life, and so it's really awesome here. And I got a great pair of March heifers to start off with here today. That's using the one that I think is just in my mind is pretty easily, as you view this heifer, just puts herself together as the combination package. Very elegant, very still youthful as a March as well, but very elegant, very long bodied. I like that long length of hip that she has there from her hooks all the way out to her pins, and very nice in terms of structural integrity. Just her skeleton is put together extremely well. Love the slope of that shoulder. Get in behind her. She's certainly powerful enough, in my opinion. Just kind of an easy way to start off, in my opinion, in this class of two. Long-bodied, really feminine heifer. Sure, here for this young man. I really appreciate this heifer for that standpoint. We get to looking at her here. She gets maybe a notch straight in her shoulder for me, and I like the short from her pins to hock to ground overall, but still a pretty nice kind of a female. Very nice pair of females to start off your Red Pole show here this afternoon.
And placings in class number 1 over in your Red Pole show are as followed. First place goes entry at number 3, MFFK Allison M240, exhibited by Adam J. Miller. Congratulations. Second place goes entry at number 2, JFF Venus, exhibited by Luke Jones. And now entering the ring will be class 2 over in your Red Pole female show. And the weight for these heifers are as followed. The weight of entry number 4 is 281 pounds, and the weight for entry number 5, the weight of, the weight of entry number 4 is 603, and the weight of entry number 5 is 778.
Certainly not an easy decision in this pair of heifers. Quite a bit of differences in them, but still the quality about them, each of them is extremely good in my opinion, and it's a matter of just kind of how you take your preference. If you like them a little bit differently than I do, I certainly wouldn't argue with them. It's a matter of how they fit in your genetic program from that standpoint. Leaves a notch moderate, more moderate female here in comparison to win the class. And that's not why I'm using her to win this class mostly here. She's the complete one that just kind of balances up a little bit better from shoulder on back, and from that standpoint, I mean, you get to looking at her here, particularly down low. I like that sweeping rib cage that she kind of has, and gives me a more of an ease of keeping type of a production female from that standpoint as well. And very, very fluid as we set her into motion, get her around the ring, and that's where she grabs just a notch more advantage as well for me here today. Young lady's heifer here's a little more elevated in her skeleton, and I just don't want to take a thing away from that. I mean, if you look through my cow herd, I have some pretty good sized cows. But this one here, maybe just a notch, a little bit more tubular in terms of the center portion of that rib cage. And I like to shore her up at her hocks on down to the ground. Just a notch for me here today. Nice pair of heifers here in your Februaries.
And placings in class number 2 over in your Red Pole female show are as followed. First place goes to entry number 4, a BG57, exhibited by Cooper McCall. Congratulations. And second place in that class goes to entry number 5, Young's Chief Abbey Y401, exhibited by Howard Young. Now entering the ring will be the selection of your division. And don't forget our selection of your top 5 open heifers, bulls, cow-calves for the grand and reserves. Again, the Supreme Champion will be at the end of the shows on Thursday. Don't forget about that. Please make that in your schedule to make it there on Thursday.
We're out here for your first division here, a March and a February in contention, and I think these two class winners fit together very well. I mean, I think they balance themselves up as a pair extremely well as well. Very, very uniform from front to rear, and put themselves together very well in terms of their spine and how they move as you move through that hip and down to the ground, and good foundation under them here with good foot shape from that standpoint. Talk about the March heifer here out of that first class is one I talked about her in that class as being the complete one, and certainly that's the case. I mean, gives you a nice profile as well. I sure commend you guys here on both these heifers, or all 4 of them in your division, how these things are presented. This one's put together for me very well, doing a nice job of getting her stuck. Man, if I could want to change on that heifer, as we get off in a 2/3 view of that one, we could lay her into that shoulder just a little bit more neatly from that standpoint. She wants to get a little bold through the center portion of it and going right on back in relationship to the heifer out of the class directly behind her. But from there, pretty solid type of a female, in my opinion. Very nice. I love the substance of bone that heifer has, all in all, as well. It is pretty nice, stout-featured heifer, but still very feminine. That February heifer, I just talked about her just a little bit ago. Again, the complete one of that class has kind of come to the top from, put herself together very well. Extremely long-bodied and very feminine. It takes herself right up through that front end very well. She has that advantage, in my opinion, maybe of being just a little bit better in the shoulder, as I explained from that March heifer just a moment moment ago. But then you take a look at her here, she gives up maybe just a notch of substance. So a little bit of give or take here in terms of what your opinions are here. But folks, great division to start off in your Red Pulse show. I'm going to take one more look, and I'll show you how I like these females in your division.
And your division champion goes entry number 3, MFFK Allison M240, exhibited by Adam J. Miller. Congratulations. And after that division, we are ready for your class number 5. Again, we're ready for class 5 at Red Pole females. And as they're making their way into the ring, class 5 females, entries number 6's weight is 875 pounds, and entry number 7 weighs 858 pounds. Again, now in the ring is class 5 Red Pole females.
I think a great pair of heifers to analyze here. Very, very similar in their design and makeup, and a ton of power in the both of them here as well. So, but again, using this heifer that I think is just a notch better in terms of her spine, all in all, particularly down her top. As we take a look at that one on a profile, she just kind of puts herself together just a little bit better for me as we take a look at her here. Just a little bit cleaner as well in that lower 1/3, particularly in that brisket, and she's pretty smooth as she goes on up. Maybe we could level her down or knock her down in her crest just a notch right there. That's being kind of picky up front. The problems with both of these heifers are very similar. We set them into motion. They want to get outside of their skeleton just a notch for me. Both of them maybe not quite as true and straight as they track when they go, but they still have plenty of flexibility as both of them as well. So just using a smoother made heifer there to lead off the class. Ton of power in the hip of this heifer for this young man. As you see her here, man, she gives up just a notch of bone maybe for me. I'd like to square her up in that rear wheel from the stifle on down, just kind of shore her up from that standpoint. Lots of flexibility, but as well kind of wants to toe out off of those rear two as the class winner as well does. Pretty nice kind of heifer. We could clean her up in that brisket just a little bit. Might concern me as she goes ahead and matures. If we're going to keep showing her here, she may just have a notch more brisket as she's a senior yearling coming looking at her down the road. A pretty nice, powerful set of heifers in this class of Decembers.
And placings in class number 5 are as followed. First place in class 5 red foal females goes to entry number 6. Notch's Snickerdoodle D38, exhibited by Emily Notch. And second place in that class goes to entry at number 7, JM Jellybean 423, exhibited by Andy Lacey. Congratulations to those exhibitors. Now entering the ring is class 6. And class 6 entry number 8 weighs 875 pounds, and entry number 9 weighs 759 pounds.
Just getting up here in these the October, maybe November, the falls here in the red pole shows. Again, the one that balances up just a notch better for me here to lead the class off. Not a ton of difference, in my opinion, between the two, but this one I think puts together some more of the things that I'd like to see in my heifer calves. Is we're thinking about them in terms of genetic replacements in your operation. This one here, very true about her spine, very long body. It's still pretty feminine. I mean, we could freshen her up about her face there, give her just a little more length of muzzle, and that's being kind of nitpicky. But the big advantage this heifer has here, I think, also is down low. I mean, she's got more rib cage for me than the heifer that's going to be second in your class. A little wider from flank to flank overall. Would give me some more maternal capacity, just a notch, maybe more bone. But still, you get in behind her from a full view and from a 2/3 view, quite a bit of stoutness and muscle in this heifer, but still refined about it and feminine. Very thick at her pins and carries it very well down to her stifles for me. And I think that's where she truly does go ahead and excel this class to win for me here today. These young gentlemen here, they're telling me first time. That's awesome, guys. I mean, stay with it here, showing. Here's one that maybe is just a notch more awkward in terms of her profile, but still a lot of good about this heifer. Really long-bodied, long-spine kind of a heifer from here to there. You know, maybe we get a little bit more weight per day of age on her, and she comes on here. I think she's going to look a little bit better as she matures, but she is the fresher one of the two from that standpoint. This one here, she kind of runs out of gas in terms of muscle when we get a rear view on this heifer, but a pretty nice kind of a heifer here and a nice pair inside of this full class.
And first place in Class 6 over in your red pole show goes entry number 6, Notches Snickerdoodle First place in class number 6 goes entry number 8, Young's NRNY310, exhibited by Howard Young. And second place in that class goes to entry number 9, Esquire's EC Wanda 323, exhibited by Esquire Landing Cattle. Now making her way into the ring is Class 7 red pole females. Again, now entering the ring is Class 7 red pole females, and entry number 13 has a weight of 958 pounds, and entry number 15 has a weight of 972 pounds. And I do believe we are ready to start your Salair show over here in Broadbent Arena. Again, we do need Class 61A early junior heifer calves over in your Salair show to start making their way into the ring.
Test. Well, good afternoon. It's a pleasure to be here, and certainly an honor and a privilege. Although we may not have a huge number of cattle over here in the Optimizer show, I think this heifer offers a lot of quality and is a really good place to start. I think one that gives you a nice look from the side. She's got some extension ahead of her shoulder. She reads right in terms of the angle to her shoulder and knee. Really correct in terms of the build to her hind leg, and offers some stoutness in terms of her foot size. I think at this stage, one that's got a lot of turn to her upper rib, if we could just soften her in terms of her flank line, but that'll certainly come with age. I think a heifer that's got the right kind of stoutness, power, and structural quality to make strides as she matures. Congratulations to that young lady.
And first place in Class 61A over in your Salair show goes to entry SFS Macy 402M, exhibited by Lynn Sheen exhibited by Lynn Sheen Francisco of Indiana.
As you're coming here in the Septembers and you kind of winding out the age division here of this, or the ages of this division in your Red Pole show. I mean, this is a pair of heifers that have a considerable amount of differences between them, and it's a matter of how they would fit in your program, how you would like to choose them. It's a lot of good about both of these heifers, and then some things I'd like to change skeletally and structurally about the pair of them. I'm using this darker red heifer to lead off here that may just have a notch of an advantage in terms of flexibility as she travels forward for me. From that standpoint, I'd also like to slope her at that pastern joint and give her just a little more flexibility right at the ground. So it's a little bit of a catch-22 structurally for me in that particular heifer. Where she does, I think, have an advantage for me is just a little truer about her spine and just and holds herself together a little more uniformly from top on down and rolls into a nice rib cage here and comes on in back into a pretty nice kind of a flank. Stout enough kind of a heifer for me here. We get off behind her here and we could layer in the center portion of that shoulder as you view her on a 2/3 view, just a notch a little bit better. The heifer in second has an advantage there, but this heifer I think is a little bit better in terms of you view her from behind, how she comes out of that shoulder into her heart and on back. So some give and take from that standpoint. This heifer as well, I think maybe just a little more feminine, a little more extended up in that front end from that standpoint. Heifer here in second, man, there's a ton of power if you get in behind this one. You look through the center portion of that hip, there is a bunch of muscle in that one. But then when you put that heifer in motion with that much muscle, she wants to get a little tight as she moves off of those rear two. Probably has a little advantage in terms of how she handles her pasterns in relationship to the heifer that is directly ahead of her in the class here today. But this one here gets a little tight from that standpoint. Get back off of her, there's a lot of the good things you can appreciate about her, man. There's a ton of middle in that heifer. There's a ton of heart in that heifer. I could like to drop her down or make her just a little bit more uniform as you view her underneath from navel on back from that standpoint. But really it comes down to some flexibility in my opinion of choosing in between these two September females. Nice pair of heifers here, I think, to round out in this division.
Another good heifer over here in the optimizers in the junior yearling division. Really nice female that, like her in terms of her structure, she reads right in the angle to her shoulder. I like the way that one utilizes her rear leg, really soft and square at the ground. That one's got a ton of boldness and power up high. Get behind her, and that one's got a lot of dimension to her. Thing I like about this female is she gets farther along in calf. That one's really correct in terms of her udder placement and spacing. I think one that if we could fix her, maybe just refine her a bit in terms of the top side of her neck, but one that's got all the power and dimension in the world that you could ask for, put your hands together for her.
And first place in Class 61B over in your Salair Optimizer Heifer Show is KM Estella's Legacy, a 310L, exhibited by Kaylee Ryan McCrae of Hiawassee, Kansas. At this time, I would like to introduce your judge over in your Salair show. Mr. Caden Malm is from LaGrange, Wyoming, where he is the herdsman for SS Ranch, his family's 5th generation cow-calf operation. He manages breeding and embryo work along with marketing their cattle to both the junior exhibitors and commercial operations across multiple breeds. Caden attended Butler Community College, where he obtained an associate's degree in agricultural sciences while competing on the livestock judging team. He then completed his education and judging career at Texas A&M University as an animal science major. Here, Caden was an integral member of the highly competitive team that claimed national titles at Cattlemen's Congress, Houston, and the American Royal. Caden is dedicated to giving back to the industry and is grateful to be here with us today. If you could join me in giving a round of applause for our judge, Caden. Number 1. Easy. Calf division champion.
Again, a nice pair of cattle over here that make up the Optimizer female show, and I think like things about both of them a lot. I think the young lady's heifer calf, one that probably has the advantage in terms of refinement and femininity, maybe just doesn't quite tie it all together. The same with maturity. The young lady's bred heifer, one that's got a lot of stoutness and power, still ties it all together right in terms of her structure and just maternal body shape and depth. She'll go ahead and be your champion, young lady. She'll go ahead and be your champion. Young lady's heifer calf will be your reserve.
And your grand champion optimizer heifer goes to KM Stella's Legacy 310L, exhibited by Kaylee Ryan McCrae of Ottawa, Kansas. And your reserve champion will go to SFS Macy 402M, exhibited by Lean Sherry of Francisco, Indiana. Congratulations.
As we're back over on the red pole side, this has been a very interesting division here, a good bit of quality here, both in your first places and your second places as we go through them. And I only analyze them just a notch for you here as we go back through. I know I've talked them in class, but give you some idea. I mean, this set of heifers here, pretty uniform in terms of how they're put together, in my opinion. Maybe one or two of them has a notch more advantage in muscle. The calf there that December, you know, we talked about her. She was the complete one in that one. Probably the stouter boned heifer in your division here for me, and I certainly appreciate her from that standpoint. Get back on the view, the side profile and 2/3 view. This one doesn't disappoint you in terms of how she stacks up against the other two that are out here in contention for your division. I mean, just kind of puts herself together very well in her spine, through her hip, on back. Kind of a nice long hip about her and carries it down again, like I said, with an advantage of substance of bone on that one. Probably the soundest of the three that we set out here, maybe are pretty close to it, and all three of them have some challenges in terms of structure, in my opinion, but probably the one here that handles herself as well as any of them for the class here today. Probably puts herself together from a show ring aspect as well, with a nice long front end about her here, and pretty nice kind of a stout made heifer out of that December class, October or late October for this gentleman here. This is the smooth made one, long bodied, really feminine in terms of her makeup from her shoulder on back. Nice way how she's laid into that hip from her muscle pattern standpoint. And I like how she shores herself, pins right on down to the hock, to the ground, and pretty nice here. You know, we get up to the front end of that heifer. She's maybe not quite as attractive of the two heifers as the two heifers that are on either side of her from that shoulder on forward. But a pretty nice kind of a heifer here. I think it's pretty practical in all stages of that from that standpoint. A little stouter made maybe heifer from the hip standpoint here from that last class one that kind of come to the top of that one is it, like I said, I think balanced herself up just a notch better. It was just a little freer in that class and moving. This one kind of concerns me, like I said, we get down to the hoof structure of that heifer at the ground, and then how she carries herself in that pastern. But I certainly appreciate the flexibility from there on up as we set her into motion. A very attractive kind of a heifer here. Maybe we could shore her in her spine just a little bit overall, but that's just being kind of nitpicky in terms of skeleton on that heifer, guys. Really good division, a lot of differences. Your seconds here as well follow right into suit. I'm going to take one more look here, and I'll show you two for your fall division champion.
A nice March bull. Go ahead and kick off the Optimizer Bull Show, and one that's really good in motion. I think in terms of his structural quality off of both ends of his structures, very, very good. I like the way he utilizes his hock and the flexibility to it. Sets down onto a deep, real soft pastern as well. You know, with that, I think we could just maybe amp him up a bit in terms of his stoutness when you get behind him. But I think one that in terms of structure and body is all right there, and it'll certainly come more with maturity. But a nice bull to go ahead and start things off. Congratulations to you.
And first place in class 60A over in your Optimizer Bull Show goes to CYM Mason 47M, exhibited by Carrie Miller of Mont Crawford, Virginia. Congratulations. We're now ready for class 60B late spring bull calves. Who won this deal? And your senior calf champion over in your red pole goes to entry number 6, Notch's Snickerdoodle D38, exhibited by Emily Notch. Congratulations. And your reserve division champion will go to entry number 13, JF Dottie, J312, exhibited by Andrea Weaver. Congratulations.
Nice February bull over here on the Salair side, and one that gives you some look and extension through his front third. I think one that at this stage is really, really good in terms of his softness to his center body, one that's really full through his heart and offers some depth back into his flank. You know, if we could just square him up, hooks to pins, when he gets out and goes, he wants to get underneath himself a little bit and then just amp him up in terms of muscularity. But at this stage, I think a bull that's still got the right kind of look, the right type of functionality to his body, and that sort of thing that be interesting to see him as he matures and gets back out here for the optimizer drive.
And first place in Class 60B Late Spring Bull Calves goes to RMF Monterey M9, exhibited by Rocky Meadow Farm of Rocky Mount, Virginia. Congratulations. Now entering ring is Class 60C Early Junior Bull Calves.
It's a good March born here, single entry, and we'll certainly get a better look at her maybe when there's cattle in the ring with her here in just a little while for your division or what we see. But a March born here that you can appreciate a lot of length of body in this one, very feminine in her makeup and her design. It kind of puts herself together pretty well. I mean, maybe we could we could shore her up in those rear two just a notch when she's standing there on her profile, but she certainly handles herself well as we set her into motion. Should get a better look and a better analysis of this female here in just a little while in your division.
White flank January bull over here that brings a lot to the table. I think one that is overwhelming in terms of mass and power. He's got a lot of dimension to him down his top, and as you get behind him, one that's really rugged and athletic in terms of his structure. If we could maybe just clean him up through his throat and chest, sure, smooth him up there at the point of his shoulder, but that's getting awfully nitpicky of him. Nice stout bull. Excited to get him back out here.
And first place in Class 60C over in your Optimizer Bull Show goes to SFS Marquis 404M, exhibited by Sheehy Family Salairs of Francisco, Indiana. Congratulations. Now in ring is Class 60D Senior Bull Calves.
We'll make over single entry February here in your Red Pulse show. One that standing still here, man, certainly gives you an awesome presence about her in terms of that profile and the shadow that she casts there within. I mean, pretty nice kind of a female here, up above, down below. As we look at her here, pretty flexible and pretty sound at the ground. I really, really appreciate the hoof shape and structure, and we've set her on a pretty nice foundation from that standpoint. As we set her out here in emotion, as you all could see her when she's moving, we'd certainly like to fix her in that spine right out of her shoulder as she sets herself out here moving from that standpoint, but very, very attractive kind of a heifer standing still for us here as a single entry.
Really nice single entry over here in the senior bull calves. I think one that's really, really stout, really powerful. I think that one's big and square right out of the backside of his shoulder. Got the right kind of dimension to his pin set and carries it all the way down into his lower quarter really well. When he sets out in motion, he may not be the quickest, but one that's dead level in his top line and still really flexible and correct in terms of the angles to his structure. If we could fix him, maybe just soften him up in terms of his flank a hair, but one that's still really athletic in terms of his body type, one that'll be neat to get back out. out here. Congratulations to you, young man.
And first place in Class 60D goes to KG Fred's 329L, exhibited by Kyler Arnold Griffith of Ottawa, Kansas, and K4 Cattle Company of Chesla, Oklahoma. Well, now ready to select your grand champion optimizer bull here in the North American.
We're over here for your division, the spring division, February and March is in your Red Pulse show. A good bit of quality of the only two entries that you have in that division. So, but a nice pair. I mean, I talked to him in class. I'll give you a little more hints on him. That the younger heifer there out of that first class, he talked about her. Man, that one kind of casts a pretty nice shadow, much like the heifer that's directly behind her. Pretty uniform from that standpoint. Maybe we could just kind of give her a little more explosion in that hip in relationship to the heifer that's directly behind her. But I'll tell you this, I mean, she handles herself, I think, with a little more skeletal and structural integrity overall from that standpoint than the heifer that's directly behind her from there. So some give and take in terms of from that standpoint. Come back here to the February. This heifer, like I said, we talked about her just a moment ago, standing still. This one really gives you a nice eye-appealing look. I mean, we could tone her down in her crest there just a notch from that standpoint. Love the hoof shape on this one. We might get concerned here from a longevity standpoint is how she handles her spine for me, particularly out of her shoulder, like I said in class for here today. But the nice pair of heifers, it kind of depends on how they fit in your program. And in my opinion here, I'm going to go with maybe what I feel like is a little bit more longevity out of that first class to be your champion in that division, and young lady, you'll be reserve.
And first place in Class 11 and your junior division champion goes to entry number 17, Notch's Caitlin D30, exhibited by Emily Notch. Congratulations. And first place in Class 10 and your reserve division champion will go to entry number 16, JF Loretta J302, exhibited by Andrea Weaver. Congratulations to those exhibitors. Now making her way in the ring is Class 4 Red Poles.
Get all these cattle back out here and makes for a nice lineup in the Optimizer Bull Show. Numbers certainly aren't high, but I think there's quality out here in them. You know, it comes down to probably the two older bulls out here for me. I think the bull out of the third division, one that's probably just a bit more practical and softer in terms of his body type. Bull out of the fourth division, one that's probably a bit better in terms of the way he sets at his ankle, one that's got a lot of power and mass to him. He'll go ahead and be your champion. Division 3 will be your reserve.
And your grand champion optimizer bull here at the North American goes to KG Fred's 329L, exhibited by exhibited by Kyler Arnold Griffart of Hiawatha, Kansas, and K4 Cattle Company of Chesla, Oklahoma. Congratulations. And your reserve grand champion will go to SFS Markey 404M, exhibited by Sheehy Family Salairs of Francisco, Indiana. Congratulations to those exhibitors. And now we're ready for Class 6 Early Junior Heifers over in your Salair Heifer Show. Again, we're now ready for Class 6 Early Junior Heifer Calves.
young man brings us a January heifer calf to kick off the Salair show, and I think one that's got a lot of good to her. Really long spine, good looking heifer that's extended and really neat through her front third. I think that one gets out and goes really comfortable. I like her in terms of her upper rib shape, and she's got as much stoutness. She's got a lot of stoutness in terms of her feature and foot size. If we could tweak that one when she sets in motion, she wants to get it just a bit tighter in terms of her loin, soften her up in terms of her flank, but I think that'll certainly come with time. A nice heifer for that young man as she matures.
So we're back over on the Red Pulse side here. This is that senior division. So 2 entries in the class and also that division. Obviously, there's some differences in production where we are in these two. And so it's a matter of them that standpoint. The cow calf here, a nice cow here, moderate frame kind of a female. The little heifer calf here at side, I believe October born cow with a November heifer calf at side, if I caught that right. I mean, you can certainly appreciate that for that stage of production. This one is doing a nice job as a first calf heifer, handling herself to this point. I mean, you take a look at her. I guess we put a halter on her here today. Maybe we'd like to have a little more show ring kind of flesh and condition, but I'm certainly not going to take that into consideration from that standpoint. I mean, ultimately, we have to make cows out of these things. So she has slipped down here into production mode and look from her. So let's analyze her from a skeletal standpoint from there. We look at her here, nice slope to her shoulder here, pretty sound out of her front end, holds herself together very well in her spine. Maybe we can knock her down in that tail head just a notch. But where I'd like to change her from that standpoint is how she squares herself from pins on down to the ground. I'd just like to kind of shore her up from that standpoint. Take a looking at her underneath here. Maybe she's just kind of reads to me a notch harder doing in terms of the pair, but that's hard to claim here. I mean, she's nursing a nice big stout heifer calf at side, so that's kind of a hard look. Analyze that udder. Maybe we could change that just a little bit here, but she's got them all squared up there, pretty good. 4 corners on her teats from that standpoint. Pretty nice kind of a deal. We could level her out of the rear too just a notch, and that's just kind of being a little bit critical from that standpoint. When we set her into motion here, like to maybe change her out of that rear, out of those rear two as we go from there. A little more show looking type of a heifer here for this young man. Comes out here, certainly has all that presence. We get back off of her and analyze her as cattle the cattle that she is. I mean, this is a really stout made one, a really long bodied one. You get back out there and take a look at her from a 2/3 view from where you guys are in a makeup ring. I mean, that one carries herself very uniformly through that quarter, through the center portion, all the way down to her stifle. He sits down in here to a ton of substance of bone and a really nice foot underneath of her. You get to looking at her from that standpoint here. We're at that senior yearling age. I mean, you take a look at that teat placement. She's put together pretty well underneath there. Obviously starting to show that production where she's at. That's a breeder's decision from that standpoint. But you know, pretty nice kind of a female. We get up front in this heifer here. We could tone her down in that front 1/3 just a little bit. She's carrying a notch of brisket from a show ring standpoint and from a cow standpoint for me. But I love the power, love the presence in here, and ultimately it comes down to this as well. She is the sounder one skeletally, in my opinion, here today. She'll be your champion in your senior division here. Your pair here will be your reserve.
And first place in Class 14 and automatic division champion goes to entry at number 19, J.F. Bentley Lilly, exhibited by Malcolm Ray. Congratulations. And second place in your reserve division goes to entry number 18, Dolls A. Sabrina, exhibited by Mackenzie Young. We're now ready to select your grand champion red pole female here at the North American.
a December heifer over here in the Salair show that I like a lot of things about. I think you get on top of that heifer and she's really bold in terms of her upper rib shape, carries it back into a big pin set, and still has the right kind of quarter and stifle to her. I know they're females, but I think it's still important to have the right kind of power in them. With that, I think she still reads right in terms of the angle to her shoulder, utilizes her hip and hind leg very well. If we could change her, just soften her up in terms of her heart and flank, give her a bit more sweep into her lower body, but I think a heifer that's got a lot of power and dimension to her will certainly be valuable in production.
And first place in Class 6 over in your Salair Heifer Show goes to SFS Maggie 41M, exhibited by Tyson Sheehy of Princeton, Indiana. That heifer will be automatic division champion as well, and we're now ready for Class 9 early junior heifer calves.
We're out here for all the marbles in your Red Pole Female Show, and I tell you what, you look at your lineup here, 4 divisions and their reserves, respectively, directly behind them. I'm very proud of this set of cattle. I'm not going to talk these things again for you. I talked them in their class and also talked them in their division, but to make some general statements here. When I say I'm very proud of this set, I mean that. I like the soundness for the most part from your calf here all the way up to your senior yearling. To me, that's extremely important. in our program. We like to find the soundness and the longevity of these things to stay in our program, to be genetic merit for us, to make us dollars when it's all at the end of the game, at the end of the day, and that's what we really truly need, and particularly in our operation, should be in yours as well. So we need those things to be able to stay with us here and provide us something very positive that we can market and further our own programs genetically from that standpoint. So that all goes through my mind as I take a look at evaluate any livestock show, any cattle show from there. Again, here, I love that there's some differences maybe in from that standpoint as you're looking at these things skeletally and structurally, but still I'm very proud of the lineup that I have, and all 8 of these females is where I take and analyzing them here. I think as breeders, you can be very proud of what you've brought together here for the North American show, showing these red poles on the green shavings for years. Obviously, I mean, being close by here, we've always exhibited and been very fortunate, our family, to exhibit here at the North American. I've always peeked over the fence at your breed here. I've always kind of paid attention. Being from Southern Illinois, I knew a couple of pretty good progressive breeders at one point in time through the years growing up, and so I've had some attention, paid some attention to this. And if I'm not mistaken, you're celebrating your 150th year, if I read that as well, so you can be commended to holding it together. Pretty nice kind of breed, and how you've changed these things genetically overall and brought out some pretty good kind of cattle here to represent your breed here at your North American show. With that, folks, give a nice, huge, big round of applause both to the breeders and to the exhibitors here in your female show, and I'll find you grand and reserve.
Nice pair of heifers over here in the Salair Senior Division. We'll just talk a little bit about them. I think the young lady's red heifer over here to my right, I think one that's got a lot of stoutness in terms of her foot size and feature. I think she's got the right kind of balance to her, and compared to the black heifer, I like that one in terms of her midrib and the depth she has right there in her center body. I think one that gets along and gets out and goes plenty comfortably. Maybe if we could just clean her up in terms of the top side of her neck a little bit, make her a bit more genuine there in terms of her forerib. Young man's black heifer, I think one that when you get on top of them, that one's really bold in terms of her upper rib. She's fuller and deeper down there in her heart. I think one that may not have this quite the same stoutness at the surface as she does up high, but I think one that still balances up really nice, really correct in terms of her structure and gets out plenty comfortable. He'll go ahead and be your champion senior division. The young lady will be your reserve.
And first place in Class 9 over in your Salair Heifer Show goes to SE Miss Sarah 47L, exhibited by Southern Eagle Ranch, Evington, Virginia. And second place in that class goes to SE Miss Tess 48L, exhibited by Southern Eagle Ranch of Evington, Virginia. And those will be automatic division champion and reserve. Again, congratulations. And your grand champion red pole female here at the North American, it goes to entry number 3, MFFK Allison M240, exhibited by Alan Miller. Congratulations. And your reserve grand champion female goes to entry number 6, Notch's Snickerdoodle D38, exhibited by Emily Notch. Congratulations.
a nice lineup of Salair females over here, and I think they're all very representative of the breed and good cattle in general. We may not have many Salairs around our place anymore, but the breed certainly played an integral role in our operation probably some 30 years ago, and just improving carcass quality and making sure to further things in that era. So I have an appreciation for these cattle, and it's neat to see the quality that they have in them still today. That said, we'll go ahead and get you a Grand and Reserve here in the Salair Female Show.
And your grand champion Salair female here at the North American goes to KG Harley's Lola 305L, exhibited by Kyler Arnold Griffhart of Hawat, Kansas. And second place and in that class, and your reserve grand champion Salair female goes to CYM Laney 32L, exhibited by Carrie Miller Mount, Crawford, Virginia. Congratulations to those exhibitors.
Pretty impressive stout made bull calf here, April, to lead off as a single entry in your bull show over here. This one here, pretty nice made. I told the young man here, very stout, very stout. I love that muscle that bull has there in his hip, particularly in the center portion of his hip, all the way back and all the way down to his stifle. Good stout bone, stout made kind of a calf here as well. Laid in pretty neat at the upper portion of his shoulder. Maybe we could blend him here of that view that I have right there at the point of his shoulder, just a notch. That's being kind of critical. He wants to pop his pasterns and notches. We set him into motion, but I tell you what, he's a single entry out here. We'll give more consideration to him as we view him here in division or lineup, whichever, in a little bit, and maybe relaxes on that halter for just a touch there. Pretty nice kind of a way to lead off your bull show here today.
And over in your red pole bull show, first place in class 19 goes to entry number 20, JF Gunpowder and Lead, exhibited by Jackson Farms. Congratulations. Now entering now is a class 20. And we are ready for class 33 over in your Salair bull show. Again, we're ready for class 33 late spring bull calves.
A little bit more refined in his muscle work here and bone work for this February bull, but still very complete bull here with a lot of reach of travel as we set him into motion here. You know, I guess you're getting a little critical of him here, man. You know, we could put maybe in a few more pounds on that calf all in all, but a pretty nice kind of a calf single entry here as a February bull in your red poles.
And first place in class 20 over in your red pole bull show goes into number 21, Young's Chief King, exhibited by Howard Young.
Young man brings us a nice red February bull to kick off the Salair Bull Show. And I think one that in terms of structure and muscularity really excels, one that's really laid back in the angle to his shoulder, comfortable in terms of the way he utilizes his hock and pastern, get behind him, and that one's big and square up high, and he's got the genuine skeletal width as he matures. If we could just soften him up, that'll certainly help. But again, I think something that'll come with maturity, a good built, muscular bull that's still got the right kind of look to him. Be excited to get him back out here for division.
And first place in Class 33 over in your Salair Bull Show goes to SFS Mickey 409M, exhibited by Sheehy Family Salairs of Francisco, Indiana. Congratulations. We're now ready for Class 34 Early Junior Bull Calves.
Get this January bull parked, and one that really gives you a good look from the side. He's got the right kind of extension and length ahead of his shoulder, level in his top line, and really comfortable in terms of the angles to his structure. You know, one that we could maybe just soften up a tick, but one that gives you a really good look, and then you get behind him and he's still got the right kind of power and dimension to him at this stage of the game. I wish he maybe matched his stoutness at the ground that he has up high, but a really nice bull. Excited to keep him out here for division.
And first place in Class 34 over in your Salair Bull Show goes to RMF Montgomery M1, exhibited by Rocky Meadow Farm of Rocky Mount, Virginia. Congratulations. We're now ready to select your Junior Bull Calf Division champion.
Over on the red pole side here, there's a pair of bulls here, February, as if I'm not mistaken. We're looking at them here, and I tell you, this is not necessarily a complete blowout in terms of an easy decision, but we'll take a look at the bull here and just analyze them both for you. So this young lady's bull comes to the top here with just that notch advantage of power, both at the ground at that foot size and a notch more bone, but then particularly we get up and he's carrying more muscle through his top and maybe just a notch more in the center or the upper portion of his quarter. You know, we get to looking at this bull. He's pretty flexible. He does have the advantage as well of testicular development for me here. I really appreciate where he's at from that standpoint. We see that bull in motion. He's fluid enough. I want to get critical of him here. I mean, we could change him up in that spine, particularly lengthen him out from his hip on out, give him just a notch more length out of that hip from there. But he's put together and coupled up with quite a bit of muscle here for me here today. So a pretty nice kind of a calf that comes to the top from that skeletal structure standpoint, all in all. Young man's bull here, gentleman's bull, and second man. This one hit me pretty well as he come in the ring. I mean, give me a lot of good looks. And the bull, if you view him from the side and move around and get to a 2/3 rear view of that bull, certainly carries quite a bit more muscle maybe than he reads from a profile. So I can appreciate that standpoint. With that being said, then, you know, he gives up a little bit of that bone work. He gives up a little bit of that framework and gives up a little bit of that testicular development. But all in all, pretty nice kind of a bull here that I still believe has a lot of longevity to him as well. Nice pair of bulls here in your Februaries.
Get these pair of bull calves back out here for division, and I think there's some comparative differences among them. The young man's red bull, one that's stouter in terms of his foot size and feature, probably a bit more expressive in terms of the shape right out of the back of his shoulder and down through his lower quarter. Again, one we said we'd like to soften up in terms of his flank line. The black bull, I think one that's maybe a bit smoother, probably still has more volume of muscle when you get behind him and study down his top and through his quarter and stifle. One that's just a bit more comfortable in terms of the angles to his structure, maybe a bit softer. That's a cleaner sheath, bigger testicled bull. He'll go ahead and be your division champion. The Red Bull will be your reserve.
And your junior bull calf champion will go to RMF of Montgomery M1, exhibited by Rocky Meadow Farm of Rocky Mount, Virginia. And your reserve champion goes to SFS Mickey 409M, exhibited by Sheehy Family Salairs of Francisco, Indiana. Congratulations. And placings in Class 21 over in your red pole show. First place in Class 21 goes to entry number 23, J.F. Winston, exhibited by Jackson Farms. Second place goes to entry number 22, Esquire's Aviator, exhibited by Esquire Landing Cattle. We're now selecting your calf division champion.
A nice December bull calf over here that'll go ahead and be his own division champion, one that's really rugged and athletic in terms of his build. That's a stout-headed, big-topped bull that's got a lot of dimension as you get behind him. I think his expressive shape through his stifle and quarter is really good, one that still has the right kind of practicality and softness to his center body, one that's got the right kind of structure to him as well. Very comfortable, just a really rugged, athletic, good kind of a bull. You know, if we could maybe just make him a bit stouter in terms of his foot size, it'd be ideal, but a nice bull. Excited to get him back out here.
Back over division here in your Red Pole show, and really wanted to analyze all three of these bulls. I mean, the quality is here, and there's some differences in them. It's a matter of, from a breeder standpoint, the give and take that you want to take home with you. Analyzing these, like I talked about in your female drive, and when you're analyzing these bulls, I mean, what kind of things do they have to offer for your breed as a whole genetically? Is there a genetic improvement here? Is there some advancement in terms of muscles, or some advancement in terms of weight per day of age? Is there some advancement in terms of structure? And I think all three of these bulls have great things to bring to the table from that standpoint. I'll talk about them real quick here, just because, I mean, that younger calf of April that come out here, man, it's a good thing. And I'm going to throw a joke here real quick. It's a good thing he's quite a bit sounder than the gentleman leading him. This one, you set him into motion. This cat moves around pretty well from all stages of the game. Nice testicular development in him here. But I love the 2/3 view and the profile view I get of that bull. That's where I really try to fall in love with that calf. Really nice shape to that muscle, and holds it together very well, and handles it when we set him into motion from that standpoint. Pretty good kind of a calf from there. You know, like I talked about earlier, maybe from this view, you could lay him in right in the center portion of that shoulder just a notch better, but that's just starting to be awful critical of a pretty good kind of a bull. Long body, maybe just a little more traditional type of a bull in the middle here. Long body, smooth muscle pattern calf for this young man. A little more refined in his bone work, a little more refined in his muscle work, lots of extension. This is kind of, in my opinion, kind of the female making type bull of the deal here. Maybe probably carries, I don't have your performance information, probably carries a notch more cavity skeletally, in my opinion. So I think positive things to say about that calf. Again, gives up maybe just a notch of muscle and a notch of skeletal bone work from that standpoint. In the last division, we talked about that one out here. This one's a stout made one as well. A ton of muscle in that quarter, ton of muscle all the way down through that hip. Big old bone size, bone work in that calf, and comes down to a pretty good foundation as he hits him to the ground. Maybe we could change him again. They're from his loin back or up in his spine just a notch, but one that's pretty powerful and nice kind of a bull here for this young lady. Folks, if you want to go ahead and give a nice big round of applause here for this division, I'll show you the two that I'd like to come out of it.
Another automatic division champion over here on the Salair side, and a bull that could certainly stand some competition. I think one that's really just bold-topped, big-ended, kind of a good beef bull and he still gives you the right kind of herd sire look from the side. You know, if we want to get nitpicky, we could sure clean him up in terms of his throat. But I think one that has that kind of power, that kind of body, and that kind of structure all tied together, that's an awfully nice bull. Give that young lady a round of applause.
And catching up over in your Salair Bull Show, first place in class at 37 goes to SE Lone Ranger 52L, exhibited by Southern Eagle Ranch of Evanston, Virginia. And first place in class 38 goes to KM Fred's Lo and Behold, exhibited by Kaylee Rain McKay of Ottawa, Kansas. We will now be selecting your champion senior bull calf.
I stand corrected. I guess I'm not very good at reading a program. Now we've got these two bulls out here for division. I think just talk a little bit about them. I think just a good, practical, functional kind of a beef bull over here to my right. One that's got the right kind of build, body, and power. Maybe doesn't have the extras in terms of stoutness of feature and same kind of look as the bull to my left. I think that one really, really neat in terms of his look. Still covers all the basics of just power, stoutness, build, and body. He'll be your champion division. Gentlemen's will be your reserve.
Single entry back over on the red pole side. Here's a big old stout rugged one as we're moving on up in the ages of your red pole bulls. This one now comes out here as a single entry, and we'll certainly get a better look at him for your division in just a moment here. Maybe he'll act just a notch better with another bull in a ring for us, but you get to analyze him, man. There's a ton of bone work in this one. There's a ton of hip in this one. Maybe we could just, he's maybe notched compact for me. We could lengthen him out just a bit. That missing tail, I tell you what, it makes zero difference to me. Throws this balance off, but I tell you what, it doesn't affect the stoutness and the power of that bull here as a single entry.
And over in your Salair Bull Show, your champion senior bull calf goes to Riley Rain McCray of Hawaii, Kansas, and your reserve goes to Southern Eagle Ranch of Evanston, Virginia. We're now ready to select your grand champion Salair Bull here at the North American. And your Division 22 calf champion in your red pole show goes to entry number 20, exhibited by Jackson Farms. And your reserve goes to entry number 23, exhibited by Jackson Farms.
Get out of here into the Salair Bull Drive, and I think both these cattle offer a lot of good to them. I won't get into the individual details, but I think both of them cover the basics and still have the right kind of show ring look to them. That said, I just want to say thank you to the North American and the Salair Association. Numbers may not have been high, but I think there's certainly quality among them. If you go ahead and give all these exhibitors a round of applause, we'll get you a champion and reserve bull.
Quality keeps climbing over here, but still single entry. This young man brought a pretty good October out here. Man, this one here, man, you can certainly appreciate that overall length of body. And then along with that here, you get back here and you start around him. You love the dimension that he starts bringing to the table from that standpoint. He lays in very nice and neat into his shoulder with that extension of body, Regis and cavities, Regis and production. Still very stoutness structure, very stout bone. Comes down with a really nice foot size as well. Goodness, testicular development. I mean, a kind of calf here that really can use a little bit of competition. We'll see him back here in just a moment for your division.
And your grand champion Salair Bull goes to KM Fred's Lo and Behold, exhibited by Kaylee Rand McCray of Hawaii, Kansas. Congratulations. And your reserve grand champion bull here at the North American goes to SE Lone Ranger 52L, exhibited by Southern Eagle Ranch of Evanston, Virginia. Congratulations to those exhibitors. And over in your red pole show, we are selecting your intermediate champion bull. Again, now in the ring is the selection of your intermediate champion bull.
On your intermediate division here, just the pair of bulls, so be your champion in reserve. But I tell you what, the quality here is pretty impressive. You probably couldn't draw these too much more different if you tried, but still the quality is there in their own right, in their own respect. So talk them again, that single entry we talked about here, the bobtail bull, man, chocked full of muscle, right up through his top, right out through his hip. Maybe the awkward one, just a bit from that standpoint in terms of how short coupled he is, but still a lot of bone structure, a lot of great things about him. Probably want to change him down there, would change his testicles quite maybe just a little bit for me here today. But a pretty nice kind of a short-bodied bull, but with chock full from it. The long, extended bull here that reads all the production to me. You just talked about him in the last class. He's probably as sound of a bull as we've seen throughout your bull show here today. Love him in his skeleton, love him in his spine, love how he carries that through his rib cage right on down here into a good heart and very uniform as he goes on back. Reads a good size testicles to me here, shows me a good deal of production. He'll be your intermediate champion bull, and the young man's bull here, dark red bull, will be your reserve.
And your intermediate champion over in your Red Bull show goes into number 25, MFF Shells ROC, exhibited by Adam Miller. Congratulations. Your reserve intermediate champion will go to entry number 24, Red Oak LJ Platinum Rolex, exhibited by Luke Jones. Again, congratulations. Now in the ring is class 28 over in your Red Pole Bull show.
Single entry, both class and division here, but one that really could take on some competition, much like your division champion from the last division. Man, this one's a mile long. You get to look into that skeletal extension that he has from shoulder on back, and you can certainly appreciate that from the standpoint. As long-bodied as he is, he handles himself in motion very well in terms of how he tries to cover his track. It could be kind of a challenge, I think, when you're a rib longer than most of the cattle that you've seen, but you get off of him here. Maybe we could explode him just a bit overall from this age and maturity in his hip, just give him just a little bit more of that ruggedness from that standpoint, but a bull that reads a lot of production as well for me. So it's good single entry here, one that we'll certainly begin looking at here in your overall drive in just a little while.
And first place in class 28 goes to entry number 26, GLS King Bow 308, exhibited by Gail Spiegel and family. And that will be your automatic junior champion bull. Now in the ring is class 30.
certainly January here that could use some competition. Very complete bull as when we have him parked to take a look at him from front to rear. We'll analyze him from right out of that shoulder. It puts himself together very well, very uniform from us, hard on back, very clean up into his sheath, and I like how he's very uniform on into his flank. You get into to analyzing his dimension as well. Good amount in that hip. I mean, I think just the right amount of muscle from that standpoint. Comes down into a nice bone work and all. Getting in behind him, you'll read him over his top, particularly right up there in that rib eye and on forward. Very uniform going on forward from there. I want us to take a look at him maybe moving, and when we come back here in a little bit in your division drive, it offers to me wants to be a little hesitant off his rear too as we set him into motion, but we'll take a look at him with some other cattle in the ring. Maybe he'll move just a little bit better off of this halter when he has some competition moving.
And first place in Class 30 and automatic senior champion bull goes to entry number 27, Esquire's Top Flight, exhibited by Esquire Land and Cattle. We're now ready to select your grand champion red pole bull here at the North American.
We'll come down here to your champion lineup in your Red Pole Bull Show, and folks. But just a couple of few comments. I mean, I talked these cattle in class and division, and so I won't come back through. But just first off, again, huge thank you here to you folks here in the Red Pole Association, and also the North American. Again, it's always amazing opportunity. It's to evaluate livestock, evaluate cattle here on the Green Shavings in November, a place that's always been pretty near and dear to my heart. I mean, we've had some pretty good successes on these Green Shavings, both here in Broadbent and in Freedom Hall, both for places that I worked for, and even in our own operation, in our own family. So we've been very, very blessed to be, and I'm talking about our family, my wife and my daughters, who I think are probably watching. I don't know, one of them should be probably in class in Stillwater as far as that goes, but she's probably still watching. But it's always amazing for us as a family to come here and to exhibit. So this place is kind of hollowed halls, in my opinion. So to have the opportunity to evaluate a show here is just truly an amazing opportunity for me every time that I get the chance to come here. I want to stop here and say to the breeders in the Red Poles, your and breed here. I mean, amazing set of cattle that you've brought for me today. Like I said, I've looked over the fence at your cattle for years. Had an opportunity to know a few of your breeders in the past from that standpoint. And what you've brought today through your female show and through your bull show here is cattle that I think have developed and come on over the last several years and done an amazing job with what you've brought here to represent your breed at the North American here today. Your bulls that we have, 4, 6 of them out here that stand out here structurally for the most part with some integrity from that standpoint, some longevity from that standpoint in this bull show, and you know, some bulls that I think that can offer some change and betterment for your breed genetically, and I think that's exactly what we need to be paying attention to no matter what breed of cattle that we're exhibiting here today. Folks, I'm going to stop rambling. I'll shut up here. If you would, go ahead and give a nice, huge, big round of applause both to the breeders and to the exhibitors here today, and I'll find you 2 bulls here for a champion and a reserve.
And your grand champion Red Pole Bull here at the North American goes to entry at number 25, MFF Shills Rock OC, exhibited by Adam J. Miller. Congratulations. And your reserve grand champion Red Pole Bull goes to entry number 26, GLS King Bow 308, exhibited by Gail Spiegel and family. Congratulations.